Hi there, it's Anna Marika Gerritsen, but call me AMG. And this is episode 15 of the Endometriosis Nutritionist TV. And today I want to talk about what you can do if you have a daughter, a niece, friends, kids who are teenagers and who may have endometriosis. For many women, it started when they were teenagers. And it's funny because I remember when I had my very first period, and I had a very painful period. And I've said it many times, I never had endometriosis. I was lucky I had some bad first days, and on occasion bad enough for me to not be able to go to work or go to school, but it wasn't nearly as bad as it could have been. But as a teenager, I think there is this, and I know because my daughter is 15, and I find it really worrying that they don't really talk about their periods with each other. So they don't know what is normal and what isn't. I know that, I hope that if you have a daughter, that she will be comfortable talking to you. If you have nieces, that they have someone to talk to. But I wonder if your endometriosis, in hindsight, started when you were a teenager. Did you feel that you had someone you can talk to? So endometriosis in teenagers is very common. It's as common as it is in adult women. And I think first of all, the problem is getting it diagnosed. As you probably know, it can take 7 to 10 years for it to get diagnosed. And that is a long journey of not being believed, of suffering that people just put down as, gee, that's just having a period. Pain, pain is part of a period. And whatever other symptoms you may have been, gone through all these tests because you also had digestive problems, so they might have been looking for IBS or all sorts of other problems that have to do with digestion. And it took a long, and I know many of the women that finally, when they get diagnosed, it's because they have difficulty falling pregnant. And so then there's all this investigations going on, and then let's have a look. You have endometriosis. So, but for teenagers, I think it is. See, I think when we get older, hopefully we all get a bit more confident and a bit more. I refuse to be pushed away when it comes to our symptoms. For teenagers, that can be really difficult. Also because they have no comparison. They have no way of knowing what is normal and what isn't. And when girls start to have their period, that can be painful without anything being seriously wrong. But it can also be that those pains are seriously wrong. And I know that, if you're here, sitting here listening and you're going, I'm in my mid-20s or late 20s or early 30s, I don't have children, so this doesn't apply to me. What I found really, really impressive is seeing more and more women who have endometriosis coming out and talking about it. And I don't need to go on TV or but to be clear when you have girls in your circle that are of teenage age and that have just started their periods, for them to understand that it's not normal. And that, in fact, this was triggered when my daughter came home from school, and she said, so she's in year 10, and she said in PDHPE we talked about, or science, I can't remember, whatever, we talked about, the teacher talked, PDHPE, she said the teacher talked about endometriosis. And I went, oh, okay, that's good. She said, he had it wrong, Mummy. I had to correct him. And so she had told him some things that weren't true about endometriosis, because, you can't be influenced if your mum is an endometriosis nutritionist. And so she knows a lot about endometriosis, more than she probably wants to know. But I thought, that's, there's such limited information being put out for girls of that age, where if anybody in my environment, I have access, of course, to a lot of girls at that age, so I tend to kind of try and throw it in there. But if you have girls of teenage age in your world that may or may not struggle with interpreting their symptoms and wondering, don't even know that they might have a disease, the more open you can be about it, the better, and the more kids you can help, hopefully going forward. So, and if you're planning on having children, and this is probably an important thing for you to know, is endometriosis is partly genetic. So it's likely that if you have children, or you're about, you might fall pregnant and you have girls, they are more likely to also have endometriosis. So when they hit teenage years, it's something to really keep in the back of your mind, and perhaps even before, when you have them, if you have girls now, is look at, don't give them dairy, try to go gluten-free, give them lots of fresh fruit and vegetables, all those really important anti-inflammatory nutrition strategies, so that they have a limited chance, so you limit their chance of them also having endometriosis. Anyway, it was a bit of a rant, I think, a bit of a, I worry about teenagers, I worry about them having to go through this whole process and not knowing what's going on and thinking that it's normal, and then having to fight to get it recognized and to get it diagnosed, and having to be really strong and not be sort of pushed away because people make light of what they experience. So I just wanted to address it, at least in one episode, and hopefully you agree with me, and if you had endometriosis already as a teenager, you may recognize how hard it is. It's hard as an adult, and it's extra hard when you're a teenager. So that was today's episode. Might not be of interest to everyone, but I thought it was important to at least cover once for those teenagers out there who may have been watching. So next week, in episode 16, I'm going to debunk a very common, popular myth that underpins many of the medical treatment strategies. And that is the myth that menopause will fix it. So tune in next week for episode 16 of the Endometriosis Nutritionist TV. But that's it for today. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.